Good evening, everyone. Time for episode 32 of the Drums of Doom, part 2 of the Duaredheim Staff Saga, by me, starting on page 406. And it is October 30th, 2020. The chapter entitled When Kalor Was Helplessly Chained in the Dungeon. Poor Kalor. Okay. Kalor's bonds were tight, but not overly so. Testing their strength, he tried to free his hands, but it was useless. He would only hurt himself if he tried any harder. His cell was lightless save for that which spilled through his cell door's small window. He studied his prison carefully, but without his equipment, he was helpless. Suddenly the darkness of his cell deepened, and there before him, no more than 3 feet away, was the Orc's dark commander. He kicked at him, but his nemesis was just beyond his reach. "You bastard! He's in here! He's in here!" "No one can hear you, Kalor. They are all asleep." "Impossible!" Hysterical with rage, he struggled to free himself. "Help!" Vlad sat casually, cross-legged upon the floor. Resting his hands upon his knees, he waited patiently. "I will kill you." "I would feel no different if I was in your shoes, Kalor. Now please, do sit down. You will only hurt yourself." He struggled stubbornly. Vlad's amusement only increased his ire. "Sit," Vlad finally commanded, and although Kalor tried to resist, he found himself sitting nonetheless. "I have many things to tell you, Kalor, so that if I fail, someone will remain who knows my story." "You are insane." "Just look into my eyes, Kalor," Vlad said, "and I will show you everything." He tried to look away, but the elf's eyes seemed to bore into his skull, shattering his ego's defenses with ease. The untold wonders that filled Vlad's intellect were methodically hidden away in the distant corners of Kalor's psyche. They danced behind his knowledge and played hide-and-seek like children behind the curtain of his own memories. He no longer struggled. The knowledge was intoxicating. His eyes widened. He let it all in. He wanted more, but his mind was only one, and Vlad's was among the most powerful in existence. A brilliant flash of light exploded in his consciousness, and he knew no more. "When you hear the guard's footsteps, Kalor, you will awaken refreshed. You will feel as if you had the most restful sleep in your entire life. You will remember nothing of our meeting until the appointed time. Sleep now, Kalor, and rest." In the dungeons of Drakon near Falor, Dao found himself inside of an 8 by 10-foot cell. A single door with a small barred window stood opposite him. His shackles provided just enough slack so that he might lie upon the small cot standing beside the right wall. He still wore his clothes and his boots, but every other item that he had possessed was gone. "Hello," he called out. "Is anybody out there?" "Dao," another voice said. "Is that you?" "Yes, your voice sounds faint, but I can hear you. Is that you, Carmen?" "Yes, it's me. Everyone is here. Tarek is in the cell next to mine." "Quiet," ordered an unseen voice, "or your cell block windows will be closed." Testing the strength of his restraints, Dao found them to be formidable, and his powers were gone. Maybe it would have been better if we had fought them, he thought. But he knew better. They had made the right decision, even if it didn't seem that way now. Their minds were their greatest weapons now. Studying his cell, he looked for any weakness but found none. It was then that he heard a loud knocking from somewhere close by. "Who is it?" "Lieutenant Duaredheim," he said. "I have come to interrogate one of the prisoners." The rattling of keys proceeded then, followed by the complaints of rusty hinges. "Good afternoon, Lieutenant," the guard greeted. "Which prisoner?" "The elf named Dao." "I'll take you to him." The guard's footsteps were heavy and ponderous, but the lieutenant's were crisp and light, striking the stone floor in a steady rhythm. The The cell window darkened, and the lock upon his door tumbled. The portal opened. The guard was a massively constructed orc whose lower canines curved up powerfully almost to his eyes. The other man was no man at all, but rather Laios Alfar like he was. No, Doc Alfar. Blue eyes, short, neatly trimmed hair, and an impeccable uniform. He stood before him with unwavering confidence. "Unshackle him," he commanded. "Shall I remove his wrist irons as well, sir?" "Yes," he said. "I am certain that there won't be any problems." "Who are you?" Dow asked. "I am Lieutenant Elric Duaredheim, fourth in command of the Dragonian soldiers garrison here. Follow me. I have much to show you." Turning about, he exited the room and led on. "Guard the prisoners well, Scrimshaw," he said. "The general will be arriving soon." "Yes, sir." Dow quickly surveyed the prison chamber. 5 cells faced one another along the sides of a wide passage some 70 feet in length. The chamber doors were stoutly built and reinforced with iron. 2 pony-sized hounds sat patiently beside the hall's entryway. Red-furred. Hold on. Their eyes and fangs were black, and they smelled of soot. Smoke poured from their nostrils as they breathed. The hounds of Azamod, the wild dogs of hell, servants of evil masters. Never had he imagined their real existence, but here they were nonetheless, sitting patiently like faithful hunting dogs. Without weapons, there was no hope of making their escape from here. "Mind the dogs," Elric warned. "They are foul-tempered beasts at best." Despite his warning, they barely stirred as they filed past, pausing for just a moment to blow smoke upon them and check their scent. "Come, Dow," he said with barely contained excitement, as if he was talking to his dearest friend. "I have much to show you." Walking through the heart of a vast prison complex, they entered into an area of vast halls with stairs and chambers carved for giants and elves alike. Vast numbers of orcs moved about, with purposes known only to them, and smaller, more wretched creatures as well. Lesser orcs and various other goblin races seemed to mingle freely here without strife, something that he had never heard of before. In one room, he glimpsed a company of Doc Elfar soldiers, and there were many humans among them as well. So Dragonia is here after all, he thought, allying themselves with creatures of evil, and no doubt building their strength for a full-scale invasion. Following closely behind his guide, he did his best to memorize every stair, chamber, and twisting passage that they passed through. There were thousands of soldiers here, countless slaves, in a fortress complex so vast and powerful that it surpassed imagining. This was once a great city, Elric recalled, perhaps the greatest ever on Tempest. The orcs built their pyramid on top of its castle ruins, and our own engineers have overseen the reconstruction of the halls that you see before you now. Farid Moor is now the most powerful fortress in the northern reaches. The perfect site to launch an invasion. "Come now, my friend," Elric said. "Our nations have been at war for centuries. Surely we are not so naive as to think that either of us could in any way change the happenings of the world around us alone. One man can do much, of course, and we will, but we are enemies by our allegiances only. In another field, I believe that we could be fast friends. That remains to be seen." Coming to an end of a wide thoroughfare, with towering arches supporting a roof painted to resemble the night sky, they turned right, entering into a man-sized hallway with a handful of adjoining rooms. The door at the far end of the passage was closed. 2 Dragonian soldiers stood guard outside of it, lightly armored, with belted swords and long spears. "Make way, gentlemen," Elric ordered. "Yes, sir." The rightmost soldier soon produced a set of keys, and with a quick turn, he had the door open. "After you, Dow," Elric said. It was a library, filled with row upon row of books, scrolls, parchments, and the furniture necessary to properly study them. The room was brightly lit with magic, and a small, inquisitive little gnome sat at one of the tables, almost completely surrounded with books. Little more than the top of his head could be seen above them. A bright globe stood on the table before him, filled with some kind of insects whose abdomens periodically emitted bright flashes of light. Giant fireflies. I always enjoyed catching them as a child. Their light is a kind of magic all of its own, don't you think? Why have you brought us here? You and Kalor will be guests here for the next 6 days and nights. You may study any of the resources that you find here. Through the door at the far end of the room is a bath, where you may relieve yourself and bathe at will. Servants will bring you clean clothing, food, and anything else that you might require. I advise you to learn all that you can, because in the morning of the 7th day, you will be forced to fight in the Colosseum. If you fail to use your time here wisely, you will both surely die on the first day. This is an outrage, Dao said. What if we won't fight? Then you will die. But within the pages of this library, you might find a way to die with honor. Why not just kill us, Dao asked, clenching his fists. You have everything we have of value. Our destinies are not yet certain, Elric replied. Prepare yourselves and expect a visitor. There is more arcane knowledge in this library than most wizards ever see in a lifetime. The right wing is my favorite. It is almost entirely evocation. If I am not mistaken, I believe that is yours as well. Good day, gentlemen. Turning about, he left them alone, ordering the guards to lock the door behind him. A basket of pastries lay on the table with a pitcher of fresh milk. Try the blueberry Danish, Kalor said. It is delicious. Dao looked at him incredulously, but Kalor didn't notice, not one bit. The general's questions. Shortly after Dao had left them, a second visitor arrived. Good afternoon, Scrimshaw. How are the prisoners? They are well, General. A slave has gone to fetch their supper. Open all their cells. I wish to speak with them all personally. Yes, General. Scrimshaw performed his duties quickly and then returned to his post. Carmen, he said. You have become a fine leader. It is a pity that things have to end like this. I know you, she spat. You are the one who planned all of this. And I couldn't have done it without you. You and your sister are so different, he said with his hands clasped behind his back, but equally beautiful. What are you going to do to her? Oh, she's just insurance, really. Once you are all safely dead in the arena and Safe Haven is sacked, she will be spared. She knows nothing, and for that reason there is no need to kill her. You bastard! Not now, he soothed. You should be proud. Without your courage, I might never have acquired the staff. You and your friends have done me a great service, and for that I will spare your families. For the rest of you, I am afraid that such leniency is impossible, because you know too much. My priests will be here soon to heal your remaining wounds. Rest well. For 1 week from today, you will all die in the Colosseum. Don't worry. It will be an honorable death. Son of a bitch. Farewell, Carmen. A few paces down the hall, he entered the cell of a very angry dwarf. Kerr, son of Moldrin, he said, I am Vlad. Well met. Well met, you dirty stone licker. He strained at his chains. It seemed for a moment that he might actually be capable of breaking them. Your father is an interesting man, Vlad said. I can see where you get your spark from. What have you done with him? Oh, he is someplace safe. He will be among the spectators when you face Gorthog in the arena. Gorthog? Yes, Gorthog. He is a dragon, very large and always hungry. Dragon? Don't worry, Kerr. Your death will come swiftly. I just wanted to thank you for all your help. 1,000 curses on you, Dark Elf. I will have my revenge against you. We shall see, Master Dwarf, but it will be a shame if your father has to pay with his own life as well. Straining with all his might, Kerr could find no more words for his nemesis. Ah, Vlad said, the Lady Greylynx, I presume. I'll stand for none of your lies, she answered. Just kill us and be done with it. Execution, Vlad pondered. An interesting idea, to say the least, but no way for a Lyoselfar sword maiden to die. Instead, I will grant you the opportunity to die with honor in the arena. So generous, she purred. Tell me, fell commander, Just what do you hope to accomplish with the Duaredheim staff? Surely no mortal can hope to wield it without disaster. The staff is the key to my ultimate victory. With it, I will create a new world order. You will bring about the end of the world. Ragnarok, Dartin cried from across the hall. It will be an end, Vlad said. Of that you can be sure. But it will also be a new beginning. Dragonia is on the brink of war to end all wars. The Empire will rain its destruction across the globe, unless it too is destroyed. I am a soldier of Dragonia, loyal to its people. Fate makes us her pawns, but I shall not surrender to her. Surely there is another way. The staff was hidden for a reason. Only its creators were wise enough to wield it. I am afraid that there is no other way, Karina, and I have all of you to thank for my coming success. Then face me blade to blade, so that I may end your madness. Oh, Vlad said amusedly, I would relish the challenge, but alas, it cannot be. Some other day perhaps, and on another field, but not now, when my victory is so close at hand. Coward! Oh, I assure you that is not the case, elf maid. Perhaps we will meet again in the afterlife. Maybe then we can have our duel. I will pray for it. Prepare yourself, Karina. 7 days from now, you will fight and you will die. Well met, Druid, Vlad said, stepping into his cell. Why don't you just get it over with? All in due time. I have nothing to say to you. As you wish, Leander, Vlad said, clasping his hands behind his back. You have somehow managed to continue your training without a master, and that is truly exceptional. Etrandaru! Yes, I now wear your blade beside my father's. Both swords are master works. So it was you who saved us. Very perceptive, Leander, but more precisely, it was my priestess who did so. Why did you even bother? You could have just taken what you wanted and left us to rot. It is complicated. Just suffice it to say that I needed you alive. So why kill us now? You have what you want. Surely we are no threat to you now. The forces that I command will suffer no weakness in their leaders. Regrettably, you must all die before thousands of witnesses. Then you are a bastard. We must all die, Druid. We can either run from death and terror or face him with pride and honor. What have you done with Robin? She is safe for now, and when you are gone, she will be returned to her home unharmed. You have my word. His eyes filled with tears and then firmed with anger and resolve. Etrandaru will not bear your ownership for long. He and I have already come to a mutually beneficial agreement. I have need of his power in the upcoming campaign. He will not stand for it. I assure you, Master Druid, that he has no choice. The secret is in the will, Leander, and mine cannot be swayed. You cannot control the staff, no one can. You will unbalance nature itself. The industry of Dragonia has already begun to affect the world. The great forests of my country are being felled to build battleships. Our factories burn coal to forge steel. Smoke is filling the sky, and tempest warms, all because our leader has a taste for war. Nature will be undone with or without my help, Druid. My wish is for something greater. Fill your heart with that hope, Leander, and I swear that I shall not squander your sacrifice. I pray that we meet again, Leander said defiantly, under different circumstances. We all have our own destinies, Vlad replied. If you believe in the faith of your friend, then you know that our fates are already written. Personally, I believe in writing my own, but is that pen and ink our own? We may never know. Pray thee well, Leander, because in 7 days you go to meet Sylvanus. You may leave now, Leander said, his tears still flowing. I have no more words for you. Vlad turned then, pausing for a moment in the hall, for he too was deeply affected. Squaring his shoulders, he steeled his resolve. Sacrifices had to be made in war. Odin's son, Vlad said, tapping his fingers on his scabbards. And just like I predicted, we meet again. My father should have killed you in the halls of the dead. He may have desired to do so, Vlad said, but there is a grand price to pay when gods meddle in the affairs of men. If he had killed me, then he would have undone his own future and the fate of Valhalla itself. No, Dartin, your father has done all that he can for you. Now you are on your own. Unchain me, and we shall see what I can do, Dartin taunted. No doubt you would enjoy unleashing the power of the runes, Vlad said, but you must think of your mother. My associates are far less merciful than I am. I will bring this fortress down upon you. Save your empty threats. You are mine now. There is no possible escape, and you will have no revenge. You will bring about the end of us all. Unite the staff, and you will release Loki from his bonds. We have no way of knowing that for sure, Vlad said. The Duaredheim used it to create order in the universe. I shall wield it to create a new one. It is the only way that my people can be free. Then you are my enemy. I could hope for nothing less. Fare thee well, Odin's son, and save your prayers for the arena. And last but not least, Vlad said, Tarek Longstride, wandering ranger and long-lost son of a forgotten family. Return my sword and face me like a man. Alas, for we are ever at the mercy of our times. We are both men of honor, and in a more perfect world, I would gladly meet your challenge. I accept. Then you would gladly throw your life away, you, the last of your family's line? I will meet them again. Soon enough, Vlad agreed, but my purpose is too great to duel with you now. I will, however, grant you your dying wish, Ranger. You will face the eldest warriors of the followers of the moon in the Colosseum arena, the very orcs who slew your family and raped your mother. You will surely die, but if you are strong and lucky enough, you may have your revenge. I will kill them all. I will be watching, Vlad said, but know this, Ranger. I hold you and your friends in the highest regard. It is only with the deepest regret that I must see your end. Then let us go and end your foolish mission. I am afraid that is impossible, Vlad said. Soon after your deaths, we march on Safe Haven. Safe Haven? Yes, Master Longstride. My orders are to march on Safe Haven as soon as the mountain passes are free of snow. Once Khan is taken, a fleet of dragon ships will land with an invasion force greater than any ever before assembled. Within 10 years, the nation of Fermanor will become part of the Dragonian Empire, if you take Khan. When is the only uncertainty, Vlad replied. Everything will go according to my master plan. If a single one of us escapes to warn the king, Tarek said, your plans will be undone. It is too late for the king to muster sufficient resistance, even if he knew today. Focus on your revenge, Vlad instructed. It is the last thing that you will know before the end. We shall see, General. We shall see. Until we meet again, Ranger, Vlad said. Scrimshaw, lock down the cell block. Yes, Commander. Their doors were swiftly closed and locked, the confident footsteps of their nemesis slowly receding into the distance. They whispered to one another for a long while after that. Somehow, they had to find a way. The library. One day became 2, 3, then 3, and more. Sleeping little, they poured their energy into learning, just like Elric had said. They were in a library filled with secrets and knowledge meticulously collected for centuries. Every shelf was packed with spell formula from every known school of magic and other schools as yet untested. Time was their enemy, their only limitation. They decided to remain focused. Instead of dabbling in a wide range of magic, they concentrated on their own specialties. Kalor poured through every treatise of illusion that he could find, and Dao focused upon the disciplines of the warrior mage. He learned spells to call forth fire and lightning, magic that could conceal the approach of an invading army, warn sleeping soldiers of a trespassing thief, or undermine castle walls. He He studied all these things and more, committing as many of the formula to memory as he could, and scribing them onto the blank scrolls with which they had been provided. They could not know if these would be taken away, but the writing was a necessary part of the learning, and so they did it anyway. Kalor advanced himself further in 6 days than he had done in 6 years under his mentor. This wasn't due to a lack of skill on the part of his master, but rather to a lack of focus on his own. Now the prospect of their unavoidable deaths provided suitable motivation indeed. He was determined to become the illusionist that Uldric had seen in him. If nothing else, he could find some honor in that before he died. He started out with the simplest spells, and he soon perfected the art of the ventriloquist, refined his knowledge of phantasms, and mastered the art of invisibility. If he had a few more days, he could have learned how to conjure illusions of substance, magical monsters that would fight for him while his magic lasted. But they had but 6 days and no more. On the eve of that day, they met their nemesis. The library door opened often. Usually it was one of the servants bringing them food, or an orc emissary named Cage, who would ask them if any of their needs had not been met. Kalor would often answer with the request of freedom, but Cage would politely say that that was one of the things that he could not grant. When the door opened, it was neither servant nor orc, but the commanding general himself. "How do you like my library?" he said. "Magnificent, is it not?" "It is," Dow agreed. "I trust that you have not squandered your time here." "Don't worry," Kalor said. "We have plenty of surprises." "Excellent. At dawn you will be taken in chains to the arena holding cells. There you will await your doom." "And what of our families?" Dow pleaded. "Will you have them killed as well?" "You have my word that they will not be harmed," Vlad said. "They know nothing that might harm me. They have neither seen the full scale of this fortress, nor learned anything of my plans." "And once we are dead, what then?" "Once you are dead, I will make my final preparations for the invasion of Safe Haven." Enraged at the prospect of his country in flames, Dow tried to summon his wizardly might, but for some reason his magic was lost to him. "Ah, Dow," Vlad said, "magic will not work in here. This entire portion of the fortress contains minerals that prevent the use of magic. Save your strength for tomorrow's gladiatorial games." "And what of my master?" Kalor asked. "Uldric will stay with us for a while. He is useful, but dangerous, and he could cause considerable mischief if he ever escaped. When my plans are complete, he will be returned to his home." "Even if you empty these lands," Dow said, "it will not equal the forces of Lord Cherrick." "Oh, there you are wrong, my friend. My scientist has developed creatures that will tip the scales in our favor, and my assault will come on the heels of a much larger invasion. Dragonia will bring her entire strength to bear throughout your realm. Within 10 years, this war will finally come to an end." "And you will use the staff to defeat us?" Kalor said. "Let us sit together and have tea," Vlad urged, "so that the two of you might know that your sacrifices have not been for nothing." He clapped twice, and the chamber door again opened. Servants quickly brought tea and crumpets upon a platter of silver. "Come and sit with me as equals. Let us forget for the moment that we are at war." Reluctantly, they sat with him, for what other choice did they have? Pouring the tea, he served them with practiced skill, then sat back and took a muffin for himself. They sipped and dined, and all the while he asked them many questions about their family and their lands, as if he was a distant uncle come from far away to visit. In return, he told them about himself, from his lineage to his upbringing, and how he had come to command so large of a garrison. When they had learned what he planned to use the Duaredheim staff for, they trembled, for what sane man would dare to challenge the gods themselves? They talked long into the night, and learned much of each other's natures, but there were some secrets that he would not reveal. "There is one small loophole in your plan," Kalor said. "You still have not completed the staff." "Unless you have somehow acquired it," Dow reasoned. "The final piece still remains on the ice moon." "A small hurdle," Vlad said. "I will soon travel there to claim it." "Travel there? The legends say that the dragons of old could travel through space, but their kind has disappeared from the world." "I will need no dragon to fly to the moon. In my youth, I discovered a Duaredheim star vessel. Star vessel? A flying ship that can travel to the stars. Ha, Kalor said, no such thing exists. It does not matter if you believe me or not, Vlad said, because by tomorrow night you will most likely be dead. Emptying his cup, he placed it resolutely back upon the tray, slid his chair backwards, and stood. Bending slightly at the waist, he bowed to them. I must now be on my way, gentlemen. I did so enjoy our conversation. Without your help, none of this would have been possible. They stood as well. Our fight is far from over, Vlad, Dow said. If there is a way, we will find it. I can hope for nothing less, my friend. Rest now. The slave masters will come for you at dawn. This isn't over, Kalor promised. Vlad stared intently into their eyes. An irresistible force invaded their minds. They swooned. Their knees buckled, and they knew no more. It soon will be, Vlad replied. Farewell. And that's where we'll end episode 32. We'll begin episode 33 on page 422 with the chapter entitled The Arena. And we'll see what happens to poor Carmen's Rangers. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. And as always, read the Duaredheim Staff Saga by me. Thank you and have a great night.